you'll be amazed when it comes to kata. Even just 1 hour of one-on-one teaching away from the dojo can give the students momentum that will carry them for years. In fact, it's amazing how valuable one-on-one training is. Other things that you can do is to partner them up with adults. So you don't allow troublesome students to partner up with weaker students or less assertive students, or students who are going to be bullied by them. You partner them up with other students who can't be bullied. So if it's a kid of 5, 6, 7, you might partner them up with a child of 10, 11, 12 who can serve as a role model, who at least will not be intimidated by them, or better yet, partner them up with an adult. But please remember that your adults are not your unpaid senpais. Your adults are there for a reason as well. So you just can't partner the same annoying student up with the same adult all the time, unless it's their parent, in which case they probably deserve it. Or at least if they don't deserve it, they recognise if anybody has to be disadvantaged by their child, it should be them. Counter to that, or not counter, but kind of the flip side to that, is that sometimes students, troublesome students, rise to the occasion when you give them the responsibility. Again, my sensei said, give students a reputation to live up to. So if you, supposing you have a troublesome student who's always noisy, you see them as soon as they turn up, and you might say, oh, you're looking like you're really going to train hard today. As soon as they turn up, I bet you're going to be super quiet today. I bet you're going to focus so well. So they've already got a reputation to live up to. And then if you give them a position, say you let them do the warm-up, or you let them partner up with a smaller child under close supervision, you don't stand over them, but you watch to make sure that the younger child is not having too negative experience. And sometimes that can help them to thrive, because they rise to the responsibility. That they're not given much trust or responsibility in their lives normally, and so sometimes they want to be worthy of it. I guess one thing that can go a long way, especially for kids who come from homes that are troubled, sometimes that's all it needs is attention that they are not able to get elsewhere. That they will work hard for you to receive, if that makes sense. They'll work hard for you to receive that attention and care that you can give them. And I know a lot of you are the same as me, that you really love your students. That, I mean, not in a creepy way, but in a, you really care for them. So that it isn't really an effort for you to show that, but sometimes you just need to let it show a bit more. Maybe personal conversation with them, just to let them know how important it is to you that they get the best out of life, or the best out of their karate. You don't have to come over all smoochy with them. Oh, I really love you. That would be inappropriate. But just let them know that you really care about their progress, and that will probably go some way with some students. Very often, normally well-behaved children, or children who would be well-behaved if their parents paid attention to their diet, can be sent into a complete frenzy just by the things they eat. For example, things with certain colours in, lots of sugar, things like that before a class will overstimulate them. And so it may be worth speaking to parents about their diet. No fizzy drinks at all, let alone before class. No sugary drinks before class. No sweets before class, because they overstimulate, and then they have all that sugar to burn off, and it translates into energy. So you may want to speak to their parents about that. Now, I have produced a sheet. There are two sheets actually. There's a summary sheet which you can give out, and then there's a much more detailed sheet which you can give out, and I'll be putting a link to those later on in the video. Also, the counter to that is that if the students are given a large stodgy meal before training, they may be feeling sick, or at the very least their digestive system is in overdrive trying to digest that food. Lots of carbs, lots of toast, cheese, dairy, that kind of stuff before class, pasta, even anything heavy and carbohydrates, or large portions of stuff that they go into I can't remember the name of it now, but many of you adults will know what I'm talking about when I talk about after a meal when you kind of become sleepy, and the kids are just the same. So you may want to speak to their parents to make sure they're not they shouldn't really be eating much of anything before class. I would say if they train at 6, they should really not be eating any later than 5, and then only a snack, a sandwich or something like that. Okay, and again, talking about stimulation, you don't really want them playing computer games or going out to play before class, for 2 reasons. One, that it will overstimulate them, that their minds are going to be too lively. There were studies done on the movie SpongeBob the TV series SpongeBob SquarePants, and it showed that just 5 minutes of watching that, and the kids were incredibly overstimulated, and they were twice as unable to think rationally. So, you know, it literally fries their brains. You know, they're all over the place. The trouble is that SpongeBob SquarePants, for example, but a lot of modern TV for kids is designed to be very, very stimulating. Lots of fast scene cuts, lots of random well, just non-coherent, really. I mean, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You know, you might think, oh, Talking Sponge or whatever goes on. I've never really seen it, but you know, that's funny and stimulating. But what it does is the kids' brains can't cope with it. So what happens is just noise and images, and they get used to a world where nothing makes any sense, and then they come to class and you're trying to be calm. Another reason not to allow them to become overstimulated is that they see karate as a anticlimax to whatever they've been doing. So they resent not being allowed to go out to play. They resent not being allowed to play computer games. They resent not being able to watch stimulating TV. So I would recommend that you recommend to the parents that they don't do any of that stuff on a karate night, and then that sense of loss is not likely to build. You know, that they have that as a reward for good training. They don't have it as a preview to it. Again, the counter to overstimulation is insufficient sleep, I guess. And I've had many students where the kids, even quite young children, were allowed to stay up till midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock even, on school nights, let alone on training nights. And teenage boys particularly, they really need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And students are going to feel cranky, they're going to have trouble concentrating, they're not going to enjoy their classes if they're tired. So even if it means a little half-hour nap when they come home from school, but I strongly recommend that you recommend to their parents that they get sleep. You know, you can tell your students who are tired and those who are overstimulated. Which kind of brings me to the most important point, which is to discuss troublesome kids with their parents. All too often we try and take on board all the problems ourselves, when the problems are actually generated outside the dojo. You know, we're not miracle workers, we're not social workers. Our job is not to make up for bad parenting or lazy parenting. Our job is to try and give them the best karate we can, and the benefits that produces. You know, the self-discipline and the fitness and self-confidence and all of those other things that we put on the can, as it were. But you know, if a parent is everything that the parent does is counter to the effects that we're trying to produce, we're never going to be able to compensate for that with the child in the dojo. At best, the dojo is going to be an hour respite for the child, but it's never going to turn them around. So all that's going to happen is you're going to be frustrated, the child's going to be frustrated, and the parent's going to think that you're no good at being a sensor, or more likely they don't care because they don't stay and watch. So I strongly suggest that you have tactics meetings with the parents where you outline the nature of the problems, you try and elicit from them what causes there could be at home, and you suggest solutions or discuss action plans that are going to help them. And sometimes it may be that the parents actually need to show extra discipline at home. For example, if you have a very badly behaved child, the parent may need to say, if you behave badly in class, you can't play computer games tonight. If you behave badly in class, you can't go to that place you wanted to go to tomorrow at the weekend. You know, and things like that are quite beneficial, again, in the reasonably short term. So sometimes all it takes is to get the child in good habits, and then they'll keep those good habits for life. So never be afraid to have conference with the parents, and in fact if they're remotely good parents, and I say a lot of bad parents don't love their kid, don't not love their kids, or the bad parents generally love their kids, they're just poorly equipped to raise them properly. And this is going to come over terrible, but the fact is it's true. You know, I've seen thousands of kids in my years of teaching, and you know, I probably know more about kids than most of the parents. I've certainly seen far more of them to build a case study. You know, for most parents, they have a case study of one, or you know, a sample size of one, a sample size of 2 kids, and they base everything upon that. And in likelihood, I probably know more about general parenting than they do. So you know, by all means, be willing to discuss with parents, even eager to discuss with parents how to help their kids, and parents who are loving but just oblivious, perhaps, will probably appreciate you taking the time, so long as you don't, you know, you don't insult their kids. You refer to the behaviour. You condemn the behaviour, not the child. Your final option, of course, is to ask the child to leave. Now, in GKR, you can't just kick a kid out of a class without kind of due process. But if you run your own club, you can kick kids out without any further permission from anybody. And it's not something that I recommend you do lightly. But over the last 12 years, I think I've asked maybe 1 child to leave in 12 years. I banned a parent. They can be a problem sometimes, pushy parents, you know, sideline martial artists who think they know more than you, can be a problem. And I've banned a parent from coming to the dojo, and I've asked many parents to be quiet, but I've only actually had to ban 1 child, and actually he was very, very young, and he was just too young to do karate. He wasn't a bad kid. He was just, you know, he was 4 or 5 or something. He was just all over the place. And I said to his parent, he's welcome to come back in a year or 2 when he's just a bit calmer. And there was another child that I really wanted to ban, and I still may have to, actually. But at the moment, ignoring him seems to be working quite well. So anyway, I hope that gives you some insight into the process of dealing with troubled kids. You know, it's not a comprehensive solution, but I just wanted to remind you that there's more at stake than just the well-being of 1 kid. And you're not a social worker, you're a karate instructor. Your job is not to just help 1 child at the expense of everybody else. You know, that it's the quiet kids in your class who don't misbehave, who may most benefit from the confidence that you could teach them. But just because they're quiet, they can get overlooked by the attention hogging, misbehaving students, and they could benefit from what you have to give them. But there's far more quiet, undemanding students who will benefit by having a class that runs efficiently and harmoniously. So consider them when you're deciding on your policy for dealing with troubled students. I hope that helps you guys. Take care.